Good afternoon, students. Well, welcome back to our lesson today. This is Agricultural Science on Friday, 12th June 2020. What we have to present to you now is titled weathering. Can you say weathering? Now, looking at weathering, last week I did mention something that has to do with rock, and the aspect of rock goes with what? Weathering. The topic, as I've earlier said, is weathering. Weathering has to do with what? Rocks. When you talk about weathering, you relate it to rocks. But before then, we have two main objectives we are going to achieve today. Definition of weathering. Processes of what? Weathering. Now, what is weathering? Weathering is the gradual disintegration of solid rocks or complex rocks into simpler, smaller particles to form what? Soil. You can see that right away. And this is made possible as a result of what we call agents of denudation. What did I say? Agent of denudation. Now, when you mention them, you have them as wind, water, glacier, ice, etc. Now, when you look at these agents of denudation, you can as well refer them to some agents of rocks, of erosion rather, things that causes what? Erosion. Now, having defined what weathering is, it's important we note that the formation of soil is as a result of what? Weathering. So when we go further in soil lesson, we're also going to refer to what? Rocks in a way. So what forms soil outrightly is what? Weathering. As a result of that, we have what we call processes of soil formation. We can also say processes of weathering. We have three types there. We have the physical processes, we have the chemical processes, and we have the biological processes. But we are going to look at the physical processes of weathering. This has to do with the climatic factors that affect what? Rocks. Those climatic factors that affect rocks. Mention them examples. You have the physical processes. You have the temperature. You have the wind. You have the ice. You have the water. You can as well have glacier. A lot of them. Those are physical processes. They are physical because they are acted on the rock as a result of climatic changes that happens on the rock due to pressure, heat, water, and others. Now, when you look at temperature, when the soil is high and it beats upon the rock or hits the rock, over time, the rock, I make illustration here, which I'll be using for my other illustrations on the board. The rock cracks, and when the rock cracks, it falls off. You look at the wind affecting what? The rock. That is the physical process. You look at rain, when it falls on the rock, it washes away the rock particles to form what? Soil. So that's what we call the physical processes. Even the ice, when it falls on the rock, it melts over time, and that wears off the rock. Quickly, we have what we call the biological processes. Biological because it has to do with living things. Animals, plants, man. Three main living things. Now, for the animals, when the animals walk on the rock, either as a result of nomadic activities or a lot of works being done by ants, termites, all that are seen here, it breaks down the rock, and before you know it, the rock wears out, the particles wear out to form what? Soil. And when you look at plants, when the plants, sometimes you see plants growing on the rocks, the roots of the plant cracks through the rocks, causing the breakage of those what? Rocks. As a result, it forms what? Soil. But when you look at man activities on the rock, for example, the quarry activities on the rock, it breaks the rock to form what? Soil. For example, you can have some of these soil pebbles over here on my hand, and as a result of quarry from the rocks, it breaks down and the particles are formed what? Soil. Formed to soil. All right, quickly, we have what we call chemical what? Processes. Chemical what? Processes. For chemical processes, we have 5 types of chemical what? Processes. We have number 1, the hydrolysis, number 2, the hydration, number 3, carbonation, number 4, solution, number 5, oxidation. Now, when you talk about hydrolysis, it has to do with what? Water reacting with what? Rocks. When water reacts with rocks, particularly with the minerals in the rocks, they help to form what? Other forms of, they have to form soil. Other forms of soil. And so that's water reacting with rocks, wear out the rock as a result of reaction with the rock minerals. When I talk about hydration, you see water attached to rocks. That the particles of water attached to rocks over time, it gets down, wears down the rock over time to form what? Soil. Now, having a look at carbonation, carbonation has to do with atmospheric carbon 4 oxide reacting with rock to form carbonic what? Acid. This acid over time reacts with the rocks to form what? Soil. And when you look at solution as a process of chemical weathering, it has to do with what? Water dissolving what? Rocks. When water dissolves rocks, it forms what? Soil. A big example you have there is limestone. When water dissolves the limestone, it forms what? Rocks. Soil per se. Oxidation. Rock reacting with what? Oxygen as a result of addition of oxygen and all that to the soil, to the rock. And that over time wears all the rock particles to form what? Soil. Now, having said this, it's important to know that soil is formed majorly as a result of what? Weathering. Without weathering, the formation of soil will not be what? Possible. So it's important we understand what it's all about, and that will help you to know how soil is formed. The loamy soil, the clay soil, the sandy soil, how they are formed. And already we have discussed rock. Each of these rocks we discussed last week gives you a particular what? Soil. If there's weathering on igneous rock, automatically that soil that's going to be formed has to do with what? Your sandy soil. Your sandy soil. The ones you see what? On the floor, right in the school premises or right on the road. When weathering happens on sedimentary rocks, in a way it forms what? Loamy soil. And then metamorphic rocks, since it's derived from igneous and sedimentary rocks, and give you other forms of soil like clay or loamy soil. I believe you have taken what has been discussed. Do well to go through the evaluation. You define what is weathering, explain molecular processes of what? Weathering. So you need to do that. And then assignment, you discuss the chemical processes of what? Weathering. The chemical processes of what? Weathering. So thank you for listening. We're coming back again. Just stay put. We'll come back for the next topic that has to do with what? Soil. Let's say thank you for listening.